Today on American Outlaw, the FUD, Ken Hackathorn, said, you absolutely, for no reason, should have a red dot on your pistol or you don't know what you're doing. Or did he? Ken, what do you think about red dots?
First of all, I didn't say that. Although I've been accredited now, Hackathorn is against red dots. I'm not. These are all my guns. I've got more with red dots. I've been shooting them for years. Red dots have a place. They are not a necessity on a fighting handgun. I'm sorry, they're not. Now people tell you, oh, you gotta have a red dot. No, you don't. Remember, handguns, fighting handguns are like battle axes. The less you have on them, the less you put on them, the better if you are. You want them simple and easy to use. You want complexity as the enemy. Now, what I said is there are problems with red dots. And if you watch the whole video that got everybody in the world upset, what I said was if you're willing to put in the time and effort and practice and training to get proficient, they will make you a better shooter. I'm convinced of that. Now, what people didn't realize, and the point I'm trying to make is, there are issues with the things, environmental issues, battery issues, mounting issues. There's a lot of things that can make them not desirable. If you're a shooting enthusiast and you know how to maintain and keep your guns up and you're willing to check them daily if you carry them and make sure everything works, cool. Most people aren't in that category. Here's the problem. We're being led to believe, again, a lot of it through social media, that if you put a red dot sight on your pistol, you will instantly become a better shooter. That's not true. It's going to take training to show you how to do it properly and lots of practice. Of the people that are really good and that big advocates of red dot sights in a pistol, they all have one thing in common. They shoot thousands of rounds every year. That's 1% of the gun owning population. The rest of them don't. 90% of people hardly shoot at all. And if so, they maybe go to the range once or twice a year. If you're not going to put in the time to become proficient so the use of a red dot sight is reflexive, you're making a mistake. It's a bad choice. I tell people, look, if I take this pistol and I've learned anything about shooting a handgun and I decide I need to shoot it, I bring it up, the sights are right there. I don't have to hunt for them. If you have not spent time with a red dot and you bring it up, then dot's not there, you see these guys hunting for it. And people say, what's in your presentation? If you don't practice, it's not going to be in your presentation. Most people don't practice. Classic point, American law enforcement, everybody's going to red dots. Why? Because they've been told if you put red dot sights on a gun, you'll be a better shooter. They take the average 2-day translation course to shoot the pistols with the red dots. They shoot, let's say, 600 rounds, 800 rounds a day. At the end of the class, they shoot the department sanctioned qualification course. Everybody shoots a higher score. The range officers, the firearm staff say, look, it's proof. Our cops are better shots with red dots. Unfortunately, 95% of cops in America are totally ambivalent about guns. They neither like them or dislike them. It's a tool they got to wear on their belt. The next time they fire that gun will be at the next year's qualification or, God help them, on the street. They're never going to practice. They're not going to practice dry fire. They're not going to check their presentation. They're not going to check and see if there's coffee all over the lens or the batteries are dead. They never are going to learn to use it proficiently. And guys say, well, you just put the target in the middle of the screen. If you don't find it out and pull the trigger and you'll get a hit. No, that's not really true. My point was, they're not a necessity in a fighting gun. If you're a competition shooter, if you're a gamer, I understand why they're more desirable, because what do all those guys have in common? They shoot a lot. They practice a lot. If you don't shoot a lot and you're not willing to put in the time to make sure the red dot is for you, I think it's a bad idea. Now, I have learned over the years a lot about them. They have gotten better. I mean, each year they've improved them. The mounting system is typically the weak link. There have been improvements in that area. They're all battery powered, so that's an issue you got to be aware of, is what's the span. People say, well, you just replace them every 6 months. Most people don't do that. Guys say, well, every time I put a new battery in my smoke alarm, I put a new battery in my red dot. How often is it on? You know, what's your application? The bottom line is, and I think new shooters pick it up faster than old guys, because I'm so used to looking for the iron sight. My subconscious wants to see an iron sight. So it was a slower transition for me, but it still took me thousands of rounds to get. I can shoot a dot-sighted pistol, pretty much the same skill I can shoot an iron-sighted pistol. Up close, I'm better with irons. Farther back, I'm better with a dot. If you want a dot, God bless you, but please don't tell me they're a necessity. They're not. Again, it's this copycat thing. Everybody's got a red dot. Oh, I got to have one on my gun. So you go out and buy your Glock, and just say you spend $500, and now you're going to spend another $3, $4, $5 or more $100 for a dot. And my point is, depending on your application, are you going to put in the time and the rounds down range to become proficient where it is reflexive? And oh, by the way, if you don't practice and use them regularly, it's a perishable skill. You put your gun in a gun safe in 6 months and think, or on a nightstand, and you pick it up and think, oh, it's going to be right there. Probably not. There's a learning curve, there's a practice routine, and please understand, I didn't say they're a bad idea. I said they have issues and you need to know about it, because everybody wants to tell you red dot's the answer. And what they're not saying is, but there are issues you must learn to deal with. And there is a training requirement and a practice regimen, and you must, stick with them to maintain that proficiency. If that works for you, cool, I'm all about it. I've never been against them. I just don't think that they're a necessity in a self-defense sidearm. Probably better off taking the money you spend on the red dot in ammo and practicing regularly.
So one of the things I want to say, guys, is a lot of you, especially on this channel, you're likely here because you are a gun guy or you're trying to be a gun guy. The part that you miss is when Ken said that. Now there was some stuff that was going on that maybe not everything he said was on there and some of it was edited out. But I'm going to say this, you forget that not everybody can even afford a gun. And so now you had somebody that's just getting into the gun world, because everybody has to enter at some point and everybody has to climb their way up. When I was very first into guns, I paid $275 for my very first Glock 22 Gen 2. It was all I could do. If you would have made me believe that I had to have a $500-$700 red dot on there, it would have made it where I didn't shoot faster. So not everybody can afford this. But let's see, when did I start with a red dot? When ATEI started doing the slides, and Chris Costa and Travis Haley was out with Magpul. And so what was that, 2012, 13, 14? I remember getting up there and shooting, and I never could find the dot. I'd find it on the first one, maybe, and then I just never could find it. It took me a long time. A portion of it was I had to remember to learn. Remember, we talked about how to properly hold a Glock. Most people don't hold their Glock correctly. If you don't have that down, which the new gun owner or most gun owners for sure don't have that down, if you don't draw it completely out of your holster correctly and you grab too much in the palm of your hand or too much on your front fingers, you're not going to find that dot. If you're not holding the gun properly while it's going through recoil, you're not going to find that dot. As a matter of fact, I think I've learned that, what did I say in another video? When I'm on a Glock, when I'm shooting the way I see it in my head, when I'm shooting for the front sight, I drive for the front sight. When I am shooting a red dot, I drive for the back of the gun. And so if I drive for the back of the gun, I can find the dot every time I'm finding the dot. Dudes, if you haven't practiced that and you don't know that, and so what we're doing is we're getting on here as trying to teach you from trying to save somebody's life. And it's probably going to be your mom or your dad or your wife or one of your kids that picked it. It's probably not you. Are they going to find that dot? Or are they going to see my Glock 48 that I have, that I carry every day? I actually wanted to show Ken, because he said you could tell by a gun guy's gun if they carried it every day.
It's been carried.
So I have an XS big dot sight on this, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not that sexy. But what is my chances of not a probable or not a possible event? It's possible that here in Salmon, Idaho, that the aliens are going to come down like Cowboys and Aliens, and Olivia Wilde, the hot girl, is going to be there, and I'm going to have to get a phaser gun and shoot them. That's possible. But what's probable? It's really more like, hey, I'm at the gas station here, and some guy, it happens in 3 seconds, and I just had to jerk this out and I didn't get a full presentation. And so this is what I choose. And this is what I have for my girls. This is what they have, the big dot sight on there. Why? Because the big dot sight actually kind of lets you target focus or threat focus. And this is what I use. This is what I've carried every day for 7 years or 8 years now. I don't feel undergunned. I don't feel like I have a problem. I shoot this better. If I'm in a class with you, I'm going to shoot this because I'm going to look a whole lot better. It's just the truth. You are a better shooter if you are practiced, well-skilled with a red dot. Agreed?
Yeah, because there's no sight alignment. You simply put the dot where you want the bullet to go and press the trigger straight to the rear. Another thing that people don't really focus on is, I don't care whether it's got a dot sight or iron sight, if you don't execute the fundamentals of marksmanship by pressing the trigger straight to the rear, as far as if you don't do that, you're going to disturb alignment, you're not going to shoot well, and you're not going to hit what you're shooting at. So if you don't have the fundamentals down, this is not going to make you a better shooter if you don't have fundamentals. Am I against them? No. I shoot them regularly. I mean, this is a gun I've just got fairly recently, and Ernie Langdon milled this Beretta Centurion for a acro. And by the way, I'm a big fan of closed emitters. In the real world, shit gets on your gun. I prefer them, but lately I've been shooting this gun a lot. This is a Gen 5 Glock 17 with an RMR on it, dude. I mean, I shoot them just fine. I don't have to say I feel like I'm, disadvantaged. But if you give me the same Glock 17 with the iron sights, I'm going to shoot about the same. But this is something that does require, for example, I got to make sure there's no dust bunnies or whatever. You go out, and this is a pretty dusty part of the world. If you're out on an average day and it's very windy, you get dust all over stuff. Some guns, depending on how they're set up, if you'll notice, this one has got a lot of carbon smudge on the front from the barrel hood. So yeah, that shit has to be, because once carbon hardens, it's hard to get off. So they do take an elevated level of maintenance. If you're not one of those people that, like I used to say about the Glock, if you treat your gun like you treat your lawnmower, buy a Glock. If you're an 1911 guy who knows you've got to apply some maintenance to your gun, then the red dot sight might be a better choice. But it's choice you have to make. I don't care what you take. People say, well, Hackathorn, you're wrong. Let me explain something to you. I've been around a long time. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff. I don't think I'm wrong about this. I'm basing it on experience. You want a red dot on your gun, great. Take the time to get some training and spend the range time to learn to become proficient. If you're not willing to do that, I think a red dot is a bad idea for you. You make the choice.